In a speech to Congress in January 1941,
while the crimes committed by senior Nazi officials during World War II are widely known and documented, far less attention has been given to the lives of their wives after the war ended. These women were married to some of the most notorious figures in modern history, but what became of them once the Third Reich collapsed? Were they held responsible for their husbands' actions, or were they able to disappear and live quietly? To understand this lesser-known chapter of history, we take a closer look at the post-war lives of several prominent Nazi wives and how the fall of the regime shaped their futures. Ilse Hess lived a life defined by her unwavering loyalty to National Socialism and her marriage to Rudolf Hess, Adolf Hitler's deputy. From the early days of the Nazi movement, Ilse remained devoted to both her husband and the ideology they supported. She met Rudolf Hess in the early 1920s, at a time when the Nazi Party was gaining momentum. Ilse officially joined the party in 1921 and rejoined again in 1925 after it had been temporarily banned. Although she was initially drawn to Hess, he hesitated to pursue a relationship. It was Ilse who introduced him to Adolf Hitler, who frequently attended social gatherings organized by wealthy Nazi supporters. Hitler played a significant role in encouraging their relationship, and the couple married on December 20th, 1927, in Munich. Hitler later became the godfather to their only son, Wolf Hess, born in 1937. Throughout the war, Ilse Hess remained a firm supporter of the Nazi regime. Her loyalty was especially evident when her husband flew alone to Scotland in a failed attempt to negotiate peace with Britain. Despite the disastrous consequences of this mission, Ilse continued to defend Rudolf Hess's intentions and never distanced herself from the party. After the war, her life changed dramatically. With her husband sentenced to life imprisonment following the Nuremberg trials, Ilse was left to raise their son on her own. She, along with several other wives of convicted or executed Nazi leaders, was arrested and sent to an internment camp in Augsburg. After her release, she relocated to the Allgäu region, where by 1955 she was running a small boarding house. Ilse Hess never abandoned her belief in National Socialism. She remained devoted to Adolf Hitler's ideology until her death and provided support to Stille Hilfe, an organization that assisted imprisoned and fugitive former SS members. In 1952, she published a controversial book titled England, Nuremberg, Spandau, which included correspondence with known admirers of Hitler. Her later years were dedicated to campaigning for her husband's release from Spandau prison, where he remained until his death in 1987. Ilse Hess died on September 7th, 1995, leaving behind a legacy inseparable from the ideology she never renounced. Margaret Himmler was the wife of Heinrich Himmler, the Reichsfuhrer SS. Ironically, before becoming associated with one of the most brutal figures of the Nazi regime, Margaret trained as a nurse during World War I, driven by the desire to save lives. After the war, she worked in a German Red Cross hospital and later managed her own private nursing clinic with financial support from her father. She met Heinrich Himmler in 1927 during one of his lecture tours, and he was immediately attracted to her appearance. They married in July 1928. Despite objections from his Catholic family due to their age difference, her previous marriage, and her Protestant faith. Their daughter, Gudrun Himmler, was born on August 8, 1929. Margaret was not a passive observer of her husband's rise. She joined the Nazi Party in 1928 and organized gatherings for the wives of senior SS officers. Despite her involvement, she was widely disliked. During the 1938 Nuremberg rally, disagreements with other SS wives led them to openly reject her leadership. By the end of 1939, Margaret was overseeing Red Cross hospitals across the Berlin-Brandenburg region, a role that sent her into occupied territories. In her diary, she documented a trip to occupied Poland in March 1940, where she witnessed the conditions firsthand. Her writings revealed deep anti-Semitism and contempt for the local population, reflecting full ideological alignment with the Nazi regime. Her efforts earned Heinrich Himmler the rank of colonel within the German Red Cross. As late as February 1945, Margarete wrote admiringly about her husband, expressing pride in his role and influence within Germany. However, their marriage had effectively collapsed years earlier after she discovered that Heinrich was having an affair with his secretary and had fathered 2 children. In April 1945, they shared their final meeting before his death. After the war, Margarete faced multiple investigations into her knowledge of her husband's crimes. She denied responsibility and sought to distance herself from his actions. In 1953, she was classified as a beneficiary of the Nazi regime and sentenced to 30 days of penal labor, losing both her voting rights and pension. She later lived under the name Margarete Boden until her death in 1967. Lena Heydrich's path into Nazism began through her family. Her brother was an enthusiastic member of the Nazi Party and the SA, and his praise of the movement led Lena to attend a rally in 1929 where Adolf Hitler spoke. The experience deeply affected her, and she soon joined the party. At the age of 19, she met naval officer Reinhard Heydrich at a rowing club ball in Kiel, and they became engaged in December 1930. Soon after, Heydrich was dismissed from the Navy after being accused of improper conduct related to a previous engagement. Left without a career, it was Lena who encouraged him to seek a future in the SS. Heydrich's ideas for an intelligence organization impressed Heinrich Himmler, who quickly appointed him head of what would become the SS Security Service. As recognition for his loyalty, Hitler gifted Lena a large estate in rural Bohemia. There, prisoners were forced into labor, and Lena was later accused of abusing them. The family lived on the estate until April 1945, fleeing as the Soviet army advanced. After the war, Lena was cleared in denazification proceedings and later won legal battles that granted her a state pension, a decision that sparked controversy due to her husband's central role in the Holocaust. Although sentenced to life imprisonment in absentia by Czechoslovakia, she never served time. In 1965, she married a Finnish theater director, largely to change her surname. She later managed Heydrich's former summer house as an inn and published her memoir Life with a War Criminal in 1976. Until her death in 1985, Lena Heydrich continued to defend her first husband's legacy. Emmy Goering married Luftwaffe Chief Hermann Goering on April 10, 1935. Although she did not actively seek party membership, she was officially inducted into the Nazi Party as a Christmas gift in 1938. Before the outbreak of war, Emmy often served as Adolf Hitler's hostess at major state functions. She openly referred to herself as the First Lady of the Third Reich, a claim that caused tension with Eva Braun. Emmy's dismissive treatment of Braun eventually prompted Hitler to intervene and demand respect. As a result, Emmy was excluded from Hitler's private retreat at Berghof. During the war, Emmy lived a life of extraordinary wealth, enjoying properties, estates, and castles acquired through confiscated Jewish assets. Following the birth of their daughter Etta, Hermann Goering ordered hundreds of aircraft to fly over Berlin in celebration. After the war, Emmy Goering was convicted in a denazification court and sentenced to 1 year in prison. Upon release, 30% of her assets were confiscated, and she was banned from performing on stage for 5 years. She later lived modestly in Munich and published her autobiography, My Life with Goering. Emmy Goering died on June 8, 1973, at the age of 80. These women were not merely silent bystanders. Some actively supported the Nazi regime, others benefited from it, and very few expressed regret after its collapse. Their stories reveal how deeply ideology can shape personal loyalty, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. If you found this video informative, share your thoughts in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.